Good evening. We're going to start lesson 7 with our fraction unit. I can use the area model and a multiplication to show the equivalence of two fractions. Okay, look at letter A. We're going to be doing the shaded unit fractions have been decomposed into smaller units. Express the equivalent fractions in a number sentence using multiplication. And the first one has been done for you. So if you look over here, we had started off with a model, and one side has been shaded to represent a half. But then we cut it in two pieces, and now we're left with fourths. Each one of these units, fractions, are 1/4. So what are we saying? We're saying that over here, the part that's shaded is 2/4 is equal to 1/2. 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent fractions. And that's what we have here. 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4. But we can do that by using a number sentence using multiplication. So we started off with a half, and we've got a little pattern here. And since we cut it up into two, there, right over here, we cut it in half. So now, since we cut it in half, meaning 2, timesing it by 2, the top and the bottom by 2, we get 2/4. Now the same thing can come over here on this side on letter B. Notice that this has been cut into half, so this is a half. But then we cut it in horizontally, we cut it again, making 3 rows. So now what do we have here? We have made 6 in the denominator. And how many have we shaded? We have shaded 1, 2, 3. So it becomes 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, and 1, 6. 3 times equals 3, 6. So 1/2 is equal to 3, 6. Now if we were going to use the multiplication sentence, notice how we have created, we made 3 rows. So we're multiplying by 3 to get 6. And then how many do we now have shaded in? We have 3. So 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. So this is how we can show this little pattern here, that we are multiplying by that number to get to the equivalent fraction. All right, we're going to continue doing this, and we now have an area model. And this area model has been broken up into, we look over here, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and only one has been shaded, so it's 1/4. So 1/4 equal to what? So we're gonna need to make shade another fraction to make smaller units using this model, and I'm just going to cut it right in half to get myself to another fraction. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have 8 in the denominator, and 2 are now shaded in. Well, now we're going to express this using multiplication. So if we look over here, 4 times what gives us 8? Well, we broke it up into halves. We broke it into 2 rows. So we're going to multiply it by 2 to get 8. And then whatever we did on the bottom, we're going to do to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. So 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. And we kind of see this pattern here by multiplying by 2. Now if we look over here on letter B, we're going to do the same thing. What has this been cut up into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's been broken up into fifths. And only 1 is shaded in. Well, I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to cut this up to show an equivalent fraction. So let's say I'm not going to cut it up once. I'm going to cut it up twice. Be a little bit different, okay? And now what do we have? Well, let's see if we can find equivalent fraction doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now I have cut up this area model into 15ths. How many are shaded in? I see only 3 are shaded in. So now I'll express this with a multiplication sentence. 5 times what gave us 15? Well, again, if you look over here, we made 3 rows. So we are going to multiply by 3. And we're doing the same thing on the top. We started off with 1 and we made 3. So now it's 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. And there's our connection there. All right, so this next one, it says draw 3 different area models to represent 1/3 by shading and decomposing the shaded fraction into 6, 9ths, and 12ths now. So now we're going to start off by creating an area model, and we are going to set this up and making it into thirds. So here is my 1/3. All right, now I got to do another one because I have to do this more times. I'm doing this thirds. There's my other third. And then my next one, thirds. And I color that one into thirds, 1/3. Okay, now I got to make this next one to letter A. I'm going to decompose it and shade into 6ths. So how we do that is I am going to cut this right in the middle to make it 6. So I started off with 1/3, and then now what did I make? I made 1/3 is equal to 2/6. And now how did I get that? Well, look, I broke it. I made 1, cut it right in half. So I made 2 rows. Started off with 1. Now I have 2 shaded in my numerator. Now my denominator, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have 2 shaded in. And I made 2 rows. So I'm going to be multiplying by 2 to get to 2/6. Now I'm going to do the same thing for letter B, but this one wants us to do the 9ths. So we have to make this into 9. Okay, so I'm going to cut this in. Oops, change my color. I'm going to cut this in to 3 rows. And now let's see if we got 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got my 9ths. And I have 3 shaded in. And I started off having 1/3. And I now made it into 3/9. And how did I do that? Well, I made 3 rows. So I am multiplying by 3 to get to 3/9. And there's my multiplication sentences. Now the next one is asking us for 12ths, for letter C. So now we actually have to break this up even more. And I'm going to make, we made 3 rows before, and I'm going to make 4 rows. That's 1, 2, 3, and then we have 4. So right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have made my 12ths. So I first started off with 1/3, and I got to 12 in the denominator. And how many are shaded in? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 are shaded in. And how we did that is what I made 4 groups, 4 rows. So I'm multiplying the top and the bottom by 4. And there's my multiplication sentences. Okay, guys, I want you to believe in yourself and keep trying making these fractions equivalent. by using multiplication sentences. Decompose the shaded fraction unit using the area model. Express the equivalent fraction in a number sentence using multiplication. I want to see your work tomorrow. Next one, decompose the shaded fraction into smaller units using the area model. Express the equivalent fraction in a number sentence using multiplication. And of course, I want to see your work tomorrow. Okay, letter A. Decompose the shaded fraction into smaller units using the area models and express the equivalent fractions in a number sentence using multiplication. And I want to see your work tomorrow. Now letter B. Do the same thing. I want a number sentence using multiplication to express equivalent fractions. And I want to see your work tomorrow. I know fractions can be tough, but keep calm and never give up. Have a wonderful night.